Hello and welcome to another edition of Sports, Cigars, and Coffee. I'm your host, Coach Dave, and we're going to be recapping an NFL Week 4 and a preview of Week 5. We'll be wrapping up Week 5 of the NCAA football and a look ahead to Week 6. And we had Sweep City in the wild card round of the Major League Baseball wild card round. So let's get started into the Week 4 recap. We'll go over my picks that I made. Last week I had the Packers over the Lions, 24-21. But the Lions went into Lambeau Field and put a whipping on the Green Bay Packers with a 34-20 win to improve to 3-1. And the game wasn't even that close. Packers fall to 2-2. And then we have the Dallas Cowboys hosted the New England Patriots, and I predicted a tough defensive game with the sorry, there was a hair on my camera, with the Cowboys prevailing 21-13. Did not see a 38-3 win coming. They gave Bill Belichick his worst loss as head coach in the NFL, which is unbelievable because remember, he coached in Cleveland before New England. Mac Jones got benched in this game, and Dallas, again, scoring lots of points on offense, or lots of points with their defense and their offense. The offense doesn't have to be spectacular because once they get a double-digit lead, pretty much the game's over with that defense. Micah Parsons is etching his name in the Defensive Player of the Year, and if he continues at this pace, he's going to be in the MVP discussion because, frankly, I think he's the best player in the NFL right now. But defenders never get recognized as MVPs because Lawrence Taylor, 1986, was the last defensive player to win MVP. Miami coming off their 70-point onslaught against the Broncos, travel to Buffalo, and like the NFL is week to week. Who you think is the best team, the next week they're not, and Miami got throttled 48-20. Josh Allen playing out of his mind right now, and Buffalo took it to Miami, kind of brought them back down to earth. And then in the game of the week, the Bears Broncos, which all of America was watching. Obviously I joked last week and picked the Bears 4-2. I knew it wasn't going to be 4-2, but these two teams are bad. And when bad football teams play a game, either one of two things happen. Either it's the worst football game you've ever watched, or it's kind of exciting. And in this case, it was kind of exciting because Denver came back from 21 points down. Sean Payton snipped his sleeves, and the comeback was on, and they came back to win 31-28. I really feel bad for Justin Fields. This organization has failed him. He's a good quarterback. He's got great skills. 2 coaching staffs failed him. 2 general managers have failed him. If Justin Fields was quarterbacking, say, Atlanta, like Mike Greenberg said, or the Raiders, or teams that are borderline okay if they had good quarterback play, like maybe the Giants, but I don't know. We'll talk about the Giants. I don't know if any quarterback can quarterback them, but we'll discuss the Giants later. And then we had, my Eagles beat Washington in a tough divisional game. They got down by 10, and then I think they kind of woke up when the Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, made that Lynn Swan acrobatic type catch right before halftime. They got a field goal, got up to 17-10, came out and scored a touchdown, then scored another touchdown to go up 24-17. And then Washington tied it with about 4 minutes left. And then the Eagles, a little controversy. What do they do? It was about minute 40 left. They were around the 30-yard line of Washington. Washington had, I believe, one timeout. And it was like, okay, what do they do? Kind of too much time to go milk the clock, considering they had at least one timeout. Or do you go for the touchdown? Well, Nick Sirianni decided to go for the touchdown. And the A.J. Brown caught a touchdown pass. He had a huge day, over 100 yards, second straight game over 100 yards, two touchdown passes. The Eagles' passing game looked better, looked crisper, looked more on target. And now when they get balance, they will, it'll be a pretty decent offense. And then Washington scores on the last play of the game, kick the extra point to tie it. The Eagles get a 3-and-out, and then the Eagles go down, and Jake Elliott, Jake the Make, big stud Jake, big kick Jake, whatever you want to call him, this guy just makes big kick after big kick, nailed a 54-yard field goal to win it. And not just big kicks. I mean, he's kicking over 50. I mean, he has a 60-yarder this year. I believe he's got 4 50-yard plus field goals this year. So he's just not making chip shot 20-yard field goals, 25-yard field goals. I mean, these babies are from 50 plus. Then we had the Steelers going down to Houston. Man, was that a beatdown in H-Town. I don't know what the Steelers were doing. I don't know if the Steelers were overlooking Houston. I don't know what was that. They got pounded 30-6. Didn't score an offensive touchdown. Pittsburgh offense looks like the Pee Wee offense that I ran when I was coaching youth football. And my offense was more diverse than what Matt Canada is. I'm not for, the coach must be fired or this player needs to be benched and cut, but it's obvious the Pittsburgh Steelers have no offense of creativity. They have no offensive innovation. It's the same play. It's predictable. And I really feel bad for Kenny Pickett because I think he's talented and I was expecting a huge step forward. Just let him loose. You have a decent offensive line. You have decent receivers and you have a playmaker who could get a 50-50 ball and Pickens. You have decent running backs. Just let him loose. I've read, and whether this is true or not, I don't know, but allegedly Matt Canada does not allow other offensive coaches to have input on the plan. He doesn't allow Kenny Pickett to audible. So if that's the case, Mike Tomlin's got to take control of that and either tell Matt Canada to loosen up or you got to come loose. And I know Pittsburgh don't like to cut coaches in the middle of the season. There is nothing there. And then now it's rumored that Matt Canada has a burner account because there's this Pittsburgh fan that's defending Matt Canada. And, the Steelers are a mess. I was expecting huge from the Steelers this year. I was expecting their defense to be dominant. I was expecting their offense to take a step forward with Pickett this year in year 2. And they fall to 1-3. They have a huge game coming up this week, which I think is a season saver. I think if the season is not is lost if they lose this week. We had Atlanta play Jacksonville in the first London game. And really, what is up with Kyle Pitts? He was the 4th overall pick. And I remember Philly people were mad, were Philly fans, Philly social media was mad when, he was picked 4th because we wanted, some fans, not me, but some fans wanted Kyle Pitts in the first 10 picks. He's got 11 receptions this year. He's got no touchdowns. In fact, he has no touchdowns at all in his career, and he was the number 4 pick. Only 21 targets this year. Now, I know Arthur Smith has a young quarterback in Desmond Ridder, and he wants to protect him with a good running game. But sometimes you just got to find your guy that you drafted. So it'll be interesting if a team like San Francisco, if they get injuries or if the Eagles get injuries and get thin at tight end, would they, go out and make a deal for Kyle Pitts if he's on the market? Sunday Night Football saw the Chiefs edge the Jets 23-20. Thought this game was going to be a blowout. The Chiefs jumped out to a 17-0 lead. Then eventually the Jets tied it at 20. And then with about 8 minutes left, Kansas City kicked the field goal to go up. And then Zach Wilson made a play. The typical, he played well, Zach Wilson. He made plays all game, except one time he dropped a snap in the shotgun formation at midfield, and Kansas City recovered it. Kansas City went out to burn the clock, ran the clock out. They never had to give the ball up. And of course, there was a questionable penalty call that was called against the Jets after an interception. It seems like the Chiefs are bailed out on 50-50 calls. It happened in the AFC Championship game where Mahomes was right getting to the line and he got hit, and they called the linebacker for Cincinnati for personal foul for hitting out of bounds. The penalty in the Super Bowl that extended the last drive to get him to the kick on the last play of the game. And I know referees, they have a hard job. They everything's bang bang. They don't have the luxury of slowing things down to the third slow motion frame. But man, the Chiefs, this year they're just hanging on. I think winning like that adds character. Just like the Eagles, they're winning anyway. I think the NFL's not college football. There's no style points. It's win by 1 point by any means necessary. There's no style points. Doesn't matter how you look. 4-0 is 4-0. Chiefs are 3-1. And then we had Monday night. The Monday night meltdown by the Giants offensive line and Daniel Jones. Seattle kept the Giants in this game. Seattle kept the Giants in this game, and it was 17-3, and the Giants were driving. It was second and goal, and Daniel Jones throws an interception to the rookie DB, Devin Witherspoon, who is a rookie from Illinois, and he played lights out. He took it 97 yards for a pick six, and that was the game. Giants offensive line had 11 sacks, and not all of them were on the offensive line. Some of them were on Daniel Jones for holding the ball too long. At some point, you just got to either run and get a yard or just throw the ball away. The Giants couldn't run. They couldn't pass. They couldn't tackle on defense. Other than Graham and Gano, they were just a total mess. The Giant offense gave Seattle 14 points. The first touchdown of the game for Seattle was a 2-play, 7-yard drive after a sack, strip, scoop fumble that was returned down to the 7-yard line of the Giants, and then the pick six. And Brian DeBall was not happy. He threw an iPad. The Giants, they draft offensive linemen. The last 3 drafts, they have drafted. They've addressed the offensive line. They have signed offensive linemen in the offseason, but they cannot develop them. They cannot develop offensive linemen. So is that a philosophy problem? Is that a scheme problem? Is that a coaching problem? Is it a mix of all 3? I'm not a Giants fan, so I don't see, I don't know the day-to-day operation of the Giants. So if any Giant fans are out there and you want to comment on that, Steeler fans, you want to comment on Matt Canada, I think the guy's got to go. I think they'd be better off with a German Shepherd as an offensive coordinator at this point. There's 2 undefeated teams in the NFL, the 49ers and the Eagles. 49ers are dominating teams, looking good. Eagles are looking okay. They're just winning. Just win, baby. This week, though, we have a huge matchup. Some calling it an NFC Championship preview. The Cowboys and 49ers on Sunday Night Football. So Chris Collinsworth is going to be in rare form between Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and Christian McCaffrey. So I expect to watch that game on mute. So I have the 49ers taking that one, 26-20. The Steelers, like I said, are in a season-saving week this week. We'll see if they come out and circle the wagons against Baltimore. Usually, Baltimore and Steeler games are drag-out fights. They're alley fights, not you know, bare knuckle fights, brass knuckles, chains, any chairs, anything. It's like a WWE, cage match, Texas death match, where anything goes. I like the Steelers to play much, much better. And I like the Ravens, though, to squeak out a 19-13 overtime win. The Giants are taking on the Dolphins. Two teams going in opposite directions at this point. And again, this is a season saver for the Giants. If they lose this game, 1-4 in the NFC East, I think their season's done. I like the Dolphins, though, 31-16. I don't think the Giants have the offense to stay with the Dolphins. So I have the Giants winning 31, or the Dolphins winning 31-16. The Monday night game is the Packers and Raiders. Again, I had the Raiders. Again, in the AFC West, you go, 1-4 in the AFC West, you're pretty much done. The Packers are okay because they're 2-2, and they'll have another shot at Detroit if they can keep it within a game. I like the Packers to win 31-29. To hold on a 2-point conversion under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. This game will come down to a Josh McDaniels decision, which will cost the Raiders again because the man doesn't know how to coach NFL team. Kind of like his counterpart in San Diego, Staley, who I think is a buffoon, who the Chargers win in spite of him. And then we have the Thursday night game, which is going to be tonight because I'm recording this on Thursday. It's the Bears against the Washington Commanders. And for whatever reason, they decided to put Chicago on national TV on Prime. So Al Michael, it should be in rare form tonight with his, calling this game. The Commanders should win. They're a better team. They have a good defensive line. I think Sam Howell, the quarterback, is coming into his own, and the Commanders should win. And then, Chicago, are they tanking for Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.? And would it even matter at this point? Does it even matter who they draft? It doesn't, because their organization's a mess. So now that we've hit the week 5 coming, and of course, I'll be watching the Eagles at LA, and that's going to be an Eagles home game because every visiting team is like a home game when they go to LA. So I have this NFL tier that's kind of like a business model. And the closer you are to the CEO is how I feel your season's going to be. So the closer to the CEO, you're a Super Bowl contender, you're a division winner contender. The farther down you get and the further away you get from the CEO is your playoff chances are slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. So there's 4 teams that I think right now are the CEOs of the NFL. That's the Eagles, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Bills. I think the Bills are playing great football right now. And I have the COOs, the Chief Operating Officers, as the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Lions. The Chief Financial Officers, the CFOs, I have as Seattle, Tampa, and Washington. Now, these 3 teams are interesting. They can either go either way on this from this point forward. I think Washington's going to make a big step, and they're going to contend for a wild card. Tampa Bay's in the right division. In NFC South, there's no team that's dominant. And then Seattle, as long as they have a winning record, they're going to have a shot at the playoffs. Now, they may not win the division because it's San Francisco, but they have 2 shots at San Francisco. That goes in their favor. The regional vice presidents are teams that I think that may, they could be wild card teams, and that's about it. At this point, Packers and the Browns. I do like the Browns. I like the way they're playing defense. I like the way I don't like Deshaun Watson as the quarterback, not because of the off the field things, but I just think he stinks as a quarterback. The Packers, they do some good things, but they shoot themselves in the foot with untimely turnovers or untimely pre-snap penalties. The regional assistant vice presidents. Now, these are teams that are just clustered together. I don't know what to make of these teams. They could win and make the playoffs, or they could go on a losing streak and have a top 10 pick. And that is the Chargers, the Rams, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Jaguars. I still maintain I think the Jaguars are the best team in the AFC South, but everybody's 2-2, so we'll see. The regional managers, the Colts, the Texans, and the Titans. Our team leaders, the Steelers and the Vikings, those are teams that should be better, and for whatever reason, something's holding them back. Our hourly employees, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Bengals. These are teams that should be better, should be climbing up the corporate ladder, but they're being held back by something. I think the Cardinals should be better, but I don't know. The coach, I think he's one and done personally. In our bathroom attendants, start evaluating the 2024 draft, the Bears, the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. So that's my hierarchy for the NFL. Do you agree with that? Comment below who you feel is your NFL hierarchy. I have 3 MVP candidates. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 2, Micah Parsons. Number 1, in the clubhouse leader for MVP, Christian McCaffrey. That's how I feel about the NFL. Comment below who are your favorite MVP candidates right now going into week 5. This week in the NCAA, we finally had some top 25 games. We're starting to get some top 25 games. This week we had Kansas and Texas. Texas is ranked 3rd, and Kansas was 24th going into this past week. And these are the games that Texas usually loses. When we're making that argument, hey, is Texas back or not? These are the games that Texas usually loses. I was expecting Kansas to give them a game, especially with the Red River rivalry coming up next week. But Texas just took care of business and just won 40-14. This game wasn't a contest. So that was an impressive win. We had Duke and Notre Dame played in the primetime game. Duke led 14-13. Then they blew it. They had the ball 4th and 6 with about 2:40 to go. They were up 14-13. And instead of going for it, instead of being aggressive and a go for it, I would have went for it. They did a quick punt with the quarterback, and the ball was down at about the 5-6 yard line. Notre Dame goes on and scores. They go right down the field and score with about 40 seconds left. And then on 4th down, the Duke quarterback got sacked. He fumbled. It looked like he broke his leg, but they're just saying it's a high ankle sprain. The problem I had with the way Duke lost, not that I care because I hate everything Duke, and you guys, the people who know me know that I'm on the North Carolina side of the rivalry, but Duke played not to lose. They blitzed all game. Notre Dame had no answer for their blitz packages. Notre Dame had no answer for it. And on that final drive, they didn't blitz at all, maybe except for 1 or 2 plays. They took the pedal off the gas and they played the sticks game, which I hate the sticks game because it gives teams yards just to methodically move downfield. And 241 is too much to play the sticks games, But Notre Dame came out. They had 2 emotional games in a row. I mean, they lost. They lost to Ohio State on the last play of the game. And now this game went down to under a minute to go. So it's going to be interesting how they do this this week against Louisville. Then we had Miami Lions. Penn State went into Evanston against Northwestern. They won 41-13. The first half was sluggish. It was tied at 10, kind of what I expected, coming off a whiteout, shutout, dominant performance. But then the second half, they outscored Northwestern 31-3 for the 41-13 win. Again, their quarterback, sophomore quarterback Drew Aller, didn't have a great game, missed some throws. I think some throws were miscommunications with the receivers. He was expecting something else, and he threw that, and the receiver ran a different pattern. But he didn't turn the ball over. He still has 0 interceptions. Penn State got their first turnover of the game on the opening kickoff, but they held Northwestern to a field goal. So Penn State has the bye this week, and then they come back in week 7 at 3:30 Eastern against UMass. So Penn State's pulling SEC scheduling. I'm sorry, that's what you have to do. You know, we see in November with Alabama playing some directional state from Texas. Auburn plays some directional state from Carolina before they play the Iron Bowl. In order to get into the playoffs, unfortunately, you have to have the schedule modeling. Fans don't like it because, you know, we're paying big money to see these blowouts, but it's a reality. It's a reality. To get into the playoffs with one loss, you have to have this schedule modeling. Now, maybe something will change, in the future, but right now, with 4 teams, this is the schedule model you have to do. Maybe when it expands to 12 teams, maybe we'll see more, Penn State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas. We'll see maybe more of those. But right now, this is what you have to do to get into playoffs. And then number 1, Georgia needed a touchdown with about 2 minutes left to defeat Auburn. Auburn had him on the ropes, but they had no answer for the beast, Brock Bowers. This guy, the tight end for Georgia, in the second half, he was an unstoppable force who couldn't be stopped at all. The man was a man on a mission, and Georgia scored with about 2:30 left to go up 27-20, and then they held Auburn. So going into week 6, I do have my top 10 in college football. I have number 10, Alabama, number 9, USC, number 8, Oregon, number 7, Washington, Penn State at 6, Florida State at 5, Texas at 4, Ohio State at 3, Georgia at 2, and Michigan number 1. And my 2 teams out that are looking into the top 10 are Oklahoma and Notre Dame. And looking ahead to week 6, Oklahoma has a chance to get into the top 10. They're taking on Texas in the Red River rivalry. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Oklahoma's still trying to find themselves under the Brent Venables regime. We have Ohio State and Maryland. Now, this is a tricky game. How good is Maryland? We're going to find out. They're 5-0. I was expecting them to be ranked. They did pick up some votes, but Ohio State's coming off a bye, off of an emotional win against Notre Dame. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. Maryland has a good quarterback with Tua's brother, and we'll see. Maybe Ohio State is not. There's just something missing with them this year. They're a good defensive team. They're tough. They're, the offense is just doing enough. Is this their breakout game with Marvin Harrison Jr. And that receiving core? So we'll see how that plays out. And then we have Notre Dame and Louisville. Notre Dame's coming off 2 games in which they had to dig deep into the basement to look for some gumption, intestinal fortitude, if you will, stick-to-itiveness, if you will. Can they do that 3 weeks in a row? That's the challenge that the coaching staff of Notre Dame has to have, or will have this week, is trying to get them to move forward 1-0, 1 week at a time. So we'll see how that plays out. Those are probably the Penn State's on a bye. And so these are the games that I'm going to be focusing on this week in college. And And then, so tell me who you think your top 10 in college is and who your Heisman frontrunner is. To me, it's still Caleb Williams. Until he's proven otherwise. I know everyone's down on USC because of their defense, but to me, as long as you have Caleb Williams, you're in every game and you're going to win. You're going to win 10, 11 games with him at quarterback and possibly have a chance for a national title. So he's still my front runner. I think right now we may have our first back-to-back winner since Archie Griffin back with Ohio State in the 70s. Major League Baseball playoffs started this week. And surprisingly, it was Sweep City. Every wild card series swept 2-0. So that means that on Saturday, the division series start. Texas is going to Baltimore. Twins going to Houston. Phillies going to Atlanta, and Arizona Diamondbacks going to the LA Dodgers. Tampa Bay again just can't get anything going. They went 31 innings without scoring a run. I believe now they're on 9 out of 10 playoff game losses. The Twins break their 18-game playoff losing streak. They sweep the Blue Jays, who talk a great game in the offseason and in the season, but once the playoffs come, they go bye-bye. They can't get out of the wild card round. Milwaukee got taken to the woodshed by the Diamondbacks, who are a young, exciting team. The only person I know on the Diamondbacks is Jake McCarthy because he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Otherwise, I don't know anybody else. And then Atlanta's got to be saying, "You got to be kidding me!" The Phillies again. To me, that's the best series of these four. I think that has 5 written all over it. I don't know why Major League Baseball doesn't do the highest seed remaining takes on the lowest seed remaining. So if they did it like the NFL model, the Phillies would be going to LA. But Atlanta's got to be going, come on, the Phillies again. But I like Texas over Baltimore in 5. I like Houston in 4 over the Twins. And I'm taking the Fighting Phils in 5 over Atlanta. I think the Dodgers are going to sweep the Diamondbacks. And then coming out with this, I like Houston and Houston and the Dodgers in the World Series. That's who I think it's going to be. I think Baltimore's too young. I think they're a year ahead of schedule, so maybe they're too young to realize what they're doing with their young squad. And this is the 30 years. It's been 30 years. This was the first playoff in 30 years that didn't feature the St. Louis Cardinals and or the Boston Red Sox and or the New York Yankees. So we have some new blood. I'm glad the Twins got off the losing schneid. I'm glad that they beat the Blue Jays. I'm not happy that Sonny Gray and Jordan Montgomery have pitched well, 2 former Yankees, who seem to, when pitchers leave the Yankees, they seem to pitch better. Not sure what that's all about, but we'll discuss the Yankees offseason once the offseason begins. So who do you think is going to represent the American League in the playoffs in the or represent the American League in the World Series and the National League in the World Series? Comment below on that. And then today's cigar is a Arturo Fuente Queen Bee. This is a medium cigar. Wrapper is from Ecuador. It is from the Dominican Republic. It is coffee, some cinnamon spice maybe, oaky, leathery type flavor. I like it. I like my medium cigars. So if you're looking for a nice medium, relaxing, uh, medium to full body cigar, check it out. I'll have the link to this cigar in the description. Subscribe, like, share with your friends, share with your coworkers, share with anybody. Let's get some exposure out there. I'm trying to build up something, and all the likes and subscriptions will help the algorithm of YouTube. With that being said, enjoyed football kicking off tonight. Enjoyed baseball playoffs on Saturday and the weekend, and all the football action this weekend. And I'll talk to you next week. Arrivederci.